Well, hello, and welcome back to Little State Big Voices with myself, Shahida, and my fabulous co-host, Tracy. How you doing?
Hey y'all, I'm good.
Are you good? Because this week has been like 5 weeks in one.
I took a nap today, so I'm good now.
I took a nap too, but I'm not good because I had some little beans at my house last night. We had another movie night. I had the big screen up out in the backyard. They loved it. But wow, these minions are wild. Or my ass is old. I don't know which one it is, but one of the two, I'm still tired and I'm probably going to need like 3 to 4 business days to get myself back together.
It's a blessing though, right?
It is an
Like,
absolute blessing. I told you when one of them woke up this morning, they were like, "TT, good morning." Just the sweetness just oozing off of her. 10 minutes later, I was just like, "Oh, you got to leave my house. You got to go. You got to go.
gotta go, gotta go.
To go." But yeah, it has been and indeed a big your picture.
I
What you
know,
got?
ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't put on the do not disturb, and
Okay.
literally my phone just started bing, 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 bing. So on do not disturb now.
Okay.
So sorry.
So we're gonna just jump into it
Let's
because
go.
this and honestly, we have a short list of discussions, but they have so much elements and so much to it. So we got to go into it. So the first thing was Joe Biden dropping out.
Yes.
And I was telling you when I first heard that, I was in the parking lot of Job Lot in Seekonk. And I literally put my head on the steering wheel and just got teary. I was just now let me explain. For the last couple of weeks, I've been going back with my daughter because she's like, he's so old, you two. He's so old, he's gotta go. And I get it. It wasn't a good look. I like Joe. I like some of his policies. I like what he's been doing. I liked how he took over the country, and I was hoping that things would change on the right, but of course it didn't because they are ingrained in hatefulness. So that's not going to change, but from a president. So I had big hopes, and I knew. And after the debate, my parents were like, "Oh my God, I don't know if somebody drugged him or what
Aw.
the deal was, but it was the most awful thing." And they just lost all hope. Now, I had stopped, I'm going to shorten it, I'm sorry. I had stopped giving money to the DNC because I usually give monthly. Stop giving money to the DNC, and I because I didn't like his stance on Israel and Gaza. I just did not, and I'm not going to support it. I was going to vote for him, no doubt, but I wasn't going to make any calls. I had pulled out of, like, I always am the one who's calling like critical states and doing what I can to help the nominee. So I said I had pulled back some, but I still was teary eyed. And then when I heard that he had said that he wanted Kamala to take his place and be the nominee, I was just like nervous. Like I don't know. But I immediately opened up my donations again. I started, so I donated, what I usually do, which is like $20, and I, opened it up for every single month until the election. And I signed back on with the DNC. Like, what do you need me to do? Make calls. But I was not excited about the selection until Sunday night when the sisters said they sent out a bat signal. They sent out a bat signal, and every sister got on the call or tried their best to get on the call. I could not get on the call for an hour and a half. They were like 15 minutes about to close it out, but I made it in for those 15 minutes. But I had already donated anyway. So that enthusiasm just erupted for her. And now I am like so in. First of all, I've always liked her anyway. That
Hmm.
was always been my girl. I didn't think she was quite ready in 2020 because she had some gas and just getting out there.
Yeah.
But I'm in. I'm in. I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the Democrats who have, just decided not to do the infighting, because that's what I was worried about, how things were going with Joe, people whispering to the news and then doing, press releases and writing letters. It was so disrespectful. Like, you have the end to go to him and talk to him and tell him, I feel like we should always have a united front, regardless, and maybe have those fights in the middle, but not for Republicans to be having orgasms off of. No, it's horrible. But anyway, that was my take on it. What was yours?
So this is going to be one of those moments in history when you say, I remember exactly where I was when I found out that Kamala Harris was going to take over the Democratic nomination because Joe Biden stepped down. So I'm going to tell you exactly where I was and how it happened for me. And then I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So for me, I was at Providence Place Mall. What was I doing? I was with Noah, my son, and I don't know. We decided we were going to go to Cinnabon. So I was like, I can't go to the mall now without hitting Cinnabon. So
Oh, I know.
I was heading toward there, and we were like just passing Starbucks and but we were just like in our happy place about to order a coffee and a cinnamon roll, and like life was good. My best friend hit me and was like, just sent the article. Didn't even say nothing. Just sent the article. I was like, the air just came. I lost my mind. And
Really?
Noah was like, what? I was like, and I explained to him, I was like, listen, Joe Biden stepped down. Kamala, because he's a voting age, so we're having voting conversations in my house.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of had the gut reaction that you had. I was so nervous for
Fearful.
her because I got, and now that I have a week to digest this, I had the feeling I had when Obama was running, that I was just so nervous for
Yeah.
him.
Mhm.
Not that I didn't think he was qualified, not that I thought he wasn't going to be great for us, but because I worry about the world and how they perceive these overqualified candidates. And
Mhm.
that was my concern. Not that she can't do it. I'm I am happy that Joe stepped down, because I'm going to tell you, I was also nervous about him. Definitely plan to vote for him, but I had concerns. Some of it is age, but I also know a lot of thriving, healthy, bomb seniors that could totally navigate that position. Especially, people got to realize, when you're president, you're not doing it all by yourself. You have
Yeah,
hundreds of people helping you be president. So it to me, if George W. Bush could be president with help, someone who's an attorney can most definitely be president.
Mm,
No doubt about it. And
mhm,
similar to Obama, I read Kamala's book, The Truths We Hold,
mhm.
prior to years ago. I think I read it during the pandemic, actually.
Okay.
Maybe when she, either right before she became VP or when she became VP. I read it, and I had read Obama's book too before he even ran for president. So I felt like I had a better understanding of how they wanted to share themselves with the
Mhm.
world. Of course, they're going to paint themselves in a particular light. It's their book, but I really feel like I got to know her through her book a few years ago. And although as vice president she hasn't been forefront, neither was Biden when he was vice president.
Well,
Vice
any
presidents are
vice
not supposed to
president
be,
is
so
not.
I was more concerned that people wouldn't understand, and that, I was afraid of the attacks on her, because people are insane. So,
And her being a black woman, not just the attacks on her, but the attacks on us,
yes.
because they're going to come for her black womanhood, and we have enough to deal with in the world without people just attacking us for no reason other than just living.
But you know what dawned on me? I was like, she did the worst kind of lawyering you could possibly do. When I say worst, not that she was the worst, but she was in a position where she was dealing with like criminal law. That's like,
Mhm.
to me, that's not like country club lawyer stuff. That's
Yeah.
not, white collar stuff. She's dealt with the nitty gritty. And I by no means am questioning her blackness. That wasn't even like a thought for me. I know this is a sister. I know this is a Southeast Asian woman. I know this is a Jamaican woman. I have no doubts about her, but I know people are going to start with the birthing stuff. I know people are going to start with just so many lies and tearing her down. And what really hurt me the most was when I encountered Black people, specifically a Black woman who was like, "Oh, I would never. I'm not voting for her." Like, why? What?
Mhm.
I was pissed about that. Like, I was
Mhm.
really pissed off about that because the argument wasn't valid. And I
Mhm.
think that's the thing that's starting to take light now. All of these misconceptions and lies that have been said about how she imprisoned Black men and women, which are, she did imprison some because that was her job, and they may have deserved that.
Do you want murderers and rapists just running around free and not to be prosecuted by a black woman? Does it matter?
Right.
It.
So yeah, and people were saying like she was throwing in people, and she was throwing people in prison for weed. If that was the law and she was following it and she was the state's attorney, then I mean, she was doing her job. I can't fault her for that. But I've also seen the side of her that is very community oriented, very down for the people, and she wasn't doing that in a malicious way. I think she was very
No.
level headed
Mhm.
in her career at, doing her criminal law. So I
Exasperated. It's like
yeah.
there were thousands of black men, and it turns out it was 45.
So because Donald Trump let like 5 Black men he out of prison, y'all are now like,
Basically. And it's like the programs that she created for those black men who got out of jail, you just discount that because we
mm-hmm,
all know that once you get out of jail, especially with a felony, that you don't have as many rights or you don't have as many opportunities when you're poor, and it could be just a misdemeanor, but people can look at your record and be like, she helped create, paths for them in California. So I think that, but we're going to have this discussion really in depth about her and who she is and what she represents, because part of what we hope to do is to inform people really about what is on the ballot come November. And it's
mm-hmm.
important to know and not fall into the lies about her or any of the candidates. You don't want to fall for any of the lies about any of these candidates.
So
But
sorry, what I was going to say is what stuck in my craw was this person saying, "I'm not going to vote for Trump, but I'm also not voting for her, and that's okay." Like, do you
so,
understand?
but who's the next person? Who's the next person? Robert F. Kennedy Jr.?
Like, do you, no, she, no, just not going to vote.
Oh, she's just not.
Just not going to vote. I'm like, that doesn't level the playing field, and that does not negate Trump. Like, do you understand that I would prefer for that person to vote for any stray cat or dog. At least make a stance, but don't say, "No, I'm not voting for her, but I also don't want him, but I won't support her." Like,
So, but if
bro,
he gets in, then you're part of the problem because you
right.
did nothing with your vote. And I've had this conversation with a person at work, and I'm like, he says, ever since I told him this, that it's changed his whole way of thinking. And I said, it because he was another one. If your vote doesn't matter, then why do they work so hard
To
to
stop to
take it
stop
away?
you from voting.
And what they're doing now, Florida is in the midst of trying to stop new voter registration.
Mm.
How and why? So it's like if you are at a church, they're like, it shouldn't interfere with religion. Oh, all of a sudden, religion shouldn't
Is
be
an issue.
is an issue. College kids who are away from home registering. So this is all their talking points, but they haven't done anything. So again, if voting didn't matter and there's too many black people who have that in their head, then why do they try so hard to stop you from voting? Think about that aspect first before you say it doesn't matter, because it does.
I mean, and so for the hardcore red states, go
Mhm.
off, sis. Don't vote. Go off.
No.
Do what you want. But in those swing states, in those battleground states, we need people to make a decision. Like, you need to make a decision, and it should be the decision on the right side of history, the side that protects women, that protects BIPOC people, that protects poor people, no matter who they are, that gives us the resources that we need and does not favor the 1 or 2%. Like, it's a no-brainer to me. I mean,
Even in those red states, vote. I lived in Mississippi for 6 years. That's a red state, and
right.
it's the poorest state. But when I'm telling you, when I lived there, the mentality of the African Americans there was it didn't matter. So they
Mm-hmm.
didn't vote. So you got the same governors over and over again. You get the same mayors over and over again. And they have made some strides, especially as far as like the governorship. It's come close a couple of times. So you keep going another generation, and it might change, but it doesn't change if you're raising your children up to believe no matter what, it doesn't matter. The vote doesn't matter, but it does.
I
And
brought my children to the polls.
hmm
So, like, I would get up and, like, on my way to work, I
hmm
would bring my kids on their way to school and I would make them stand in line with me. And when they were old enough, I was like walking them. When they were 18, I was like, let's go. I'm walking you in
hmm
there for your first. I made sure my children have voted in every election possible
hmm
since they have been of age.
Yes, luckily mine have too. I actually never brought them to the polls with me, but I'm talking politics all the time. You know how important it is to me, and it's the national. But I always tell people now we really need to start looking at the local, and
Mhm.
that's another conversation we're going to talk about very soon because we have some very important local.
It's very impactful because even like you said, even if you're in one of those red states where they're going one way with the
Mhm,
presidency, you have control over your local election. So your aldermen, your city council people, your state representatives, who you send to Congress, the Senate, all of those things are within your control still.
mhm.
So those are the things we have to think about. I don't like the blind hysteria
Yeah.
behind I can't the people who can't fathom this
Mhm.
black woman being good for this country. Like, honestly, what have black women done to harm the United States of America?
We have done nothing but take care of it. We're always on the forefront for every battle, for every group of people, which makes it even crazier because when we fight, it's not just us, our fight. It's not like, white feminism in the 1920s. No, we fight for every single group.
Mm-hmm.
So there is, and to call her, they're trying to get the narrative going because she laughs that she's not a serious person. So we can't laugh and be happy, but if then when we show our passion, we're angry. So there's no middle ground
Because they
unless
ask her
the
stupid
kowtowing thing
questions.
through.
They ask her dumb questions like, did you ever smoke weed? She's like, yeah.
When it's time for her to be serious, she's serious. But it's so funny because one of the things that I remember, one of the a criticism about myself has been that I laugh too much. And I
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not as I've gotten older, but when I was younger, starting
Mm-hmm.
from, I would say, the eighth grade on up. But, it wasn't other people, it was more my peers saying I was too silly or I was too goofy. And I was very silly and I was very goofy and I still am. I have a part of that. I like to laugh.
I wouldn't
That's
consider her like a uh, one of those people who laughs out of character, like out of character. I think it's within her
laugh.
character. It's the person that she is. Like, she's very. I feel like she's very centered and very sure of herself in a way that is not ostentatious or too over the top. There's some people that are just arrogant. Like, she's not arrogant with it, and she has so much to be arrogant about if
She
she wanted to be.
stellar record and everything, and she's not mediocre at all. And that's what a lot of these men are fearing because they are mediocre. You know, they haven't done the work that she put in the work that she has put in, but want to say that she has no experience. You know who else didn't have any experience and they dogged him for the for him even
Ronald
having
Reagan.
the audacity. Yeah, he didn't. But no, I was talking about Obama, who had 8 straight years and did a fabulous job. But you are right. I didn't even think of Ronald Reagan. He was a governor, so he did have that experience.
Listen,
But
I can probably be governor. Like, let's keep it a buck and a half with the right support staff. I could damn sure be mayor, and I
that's
most likely could be governor.
the right
You could,
support staff.
honestly, at this point, the people we put in that seat, uh, it's not giving, oh, they were so qualified. Like, we've had, in my lifetime, I've seen some raggedy choices.
As governors, or are you talking about president?
As president,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like I said, Joe did a fabulous job, and I do have that disagreement with him on how he's handled the whole Israeli Palestine thing relationship. I do not like it, and I said then I stopped giving money at that point, and I wasn't going to volunteer anything. I was just going to vote, and that's really not good enough, but I was disgruntled. And there's a couple of
it's,
other things too. I
yeah.
feel like even with his pick for attorney general, it has been a dismal failure. And this Merrick Garland, and my point is has done nothing, because had he moved, he likes to say that he has went after the January 6 rioters. You went after the low hanging fruit. If you had went after the people who started it, who promoted it, who paid it and funded, Jenny
Uh,
friggin' Supreme Court's
what's his
wife,
name's wife? Yeah,
yeah, would
Thomas.
yeah, Jenny Thomas would be, behind bars. Maybe even McConnell, so many in the Republican House would be. Donald Trump probably would not have had the opportunity to even run had you straight out the gate went after him. So there is those things with Biden that I could not jump on board with, but also because he's like that old school Republican. I mean, oh, sorry, sir. He's like that old school Democrat that thinks that the Republicans are going to do the right thing in the end. And for the last, what, almost 10 years now, have consistently told us they are not going to do the right thing in the end. They're going
That's
to
because
do,
the floodgates have opened up. So
yeah.
there was a big push, I would say, since the early 2000s for regular people, and I say that with all my love and compassion, but for regular people to just run for office. I was offered to run for office in Boston at one point, and I was like, no, I'm not qualified. I don't
Mhm,
feel like I'm good enough for the people. And when I say office, it was like city council. It
mhm,
wasn't anything like, which is an important job, but I know that the amount of dedication, the time it takes, giving yourself, your whole self up, I knew I was not like emotionally or mentally prepared for that type of role.
mhm,
However, this was being offered all over the country. Like, there was a big push for that. And that's how we got the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the raggedy ass people that we have in Washington, because people were made to believe that anyone can do these jobs. Like, when we were growing up, you held these positions of high esteem, and you didn't even apply to them if you didn't think you had the top pedigree to do it. Now,
mhm,
should you just be like, only a Harvard grad or Yale grad to be? No, but you should at least have some common sense, have some understanding of society and community and how the system works against people who are, considered less than. Like, most of these people, like, they just slid in and have caused so much havoc and chaos in the Congress and the Senate. It's crazy.
But that's basically on one side because that's what their constituents.
But then, if we're lackadaisical on the Democratic side, like, from the moment that Obama won, we should have been playing chess. We should have known where we were going to be in this very moment. And it
Mhm,
should not be where Biden had to give up
mhm,
his nomination. They should have done the math. honestly, Donald Trump's ass doesn't need to be there for 4 years. He is too freaking dumb and too old in this scenario. And I use
He
that.
has an agenda, and he has an agenda that they claim is only 37%, that 37% of these people want. And we've talked about the Project 2025, and we're gonna, a matter of fact, speaking of Project 25, Joy Reid is doing a breakdown of it every
Yes.
single night starting on Monday. So, I encourage everyone to watch that and take notes.
Follow Joy Reid.
Mm-hmm.
Is JoyReid. Is
Mm-hmm.
it REID or I?
Yep. REID.
REID. Follow this woman. Like, no matter what your political thoughts or process, just follow her for the facts.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I can say about her is she is passionate about being a Democrat, but she's also a fact checker.
Mm-hmm.
She will get you the details, and just follow her at Joy Reid on Instagram and set your notifications, because you'll get the notifications from her with the fact checking information, with all of her stories. They're always on point, and they're always what I need to reassure me that
Mm-hmm.
I'm making the right decisions politically.
And that's a good thing to add, because there are a couple of very good political minded but very democratic minded people that I follow. There's a couple of white men that I think are really good. The Lincoln Project is, really good. They're going to give you the information, and I'm going to write that down so that I can put it, in our notes, get together the list, because that's a very good point that, Tracey's making. Follow her. You want to get that information, but also check into her show. And I'm not a big fan of MSNBC, but I do try and check in for her and Nicole Wallace. Nicole at 4 and her at 7, but I don't have cable anymore, so I don't know how I'm gonna do it.
You don't
So
have cable anymore?
I do not have cable anymore. And let me
Welcome to the
tell
club, sis. Welcome to the club.
you,
If I had one of those little horns to blow with the little thing that went out, I would do for you.
I gave up cable, and I'm just gonna talk on this briefly. This is how old I am. It was literally, I'm talking to Verizon. The guy is like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna send you the contract or whatever, your new contract," and just panic attack, because I'm like, how do I live without cable? I'm paying this crazy amount of money every month, but I'm not watching but any channels but one. Just one, and that's MSNBC. That's all I was holding on to it for. And everything else I'm streaming. So why did I need it? I just need internet and what was I? Oh, the HBO, well, Max now. But yeah, that has been a hard decision. So I got to figure out how. But you know what? I just went to MSNBC today, so you can download the app and you can watch the shows the next day. So I'll probably be a day behind on like
Mm-hmm.
her shows, but I'm still gonna tune in and watch them. And
Yeah,
everyone should do that.
DVR
If
it.
you don't
Can you?
have if you don't have MSNBC in your package, then definitely download the app and get it. Or yeah, I don't know if you can get it on YouTube, but download the app. Then you can
Yeah.
get, all the shows over there. But yeah, it was a hard one to give up. That's crazy, but I did
So
it.
I had Comcast Xfinity for years and years and years when I was living in Massachusetts. When we came here, they either didn't have it. It was like Cox and Verizon. I don't even
Yeah,
know if
Cox
they
and
had.
Verizon. No, we don't have Xfinity here.
Okay, so it wasn't an option. That was
Mhm.
stressful enough for me because I was like, "What do you mean? Like, I don't Cox? No, I don't want that. I
Just the
do
name
want that, but I don't
alone.
want that.
Right.
But so I went to Verizon, and this brings up, this brings up such a sort. Everything boils down to race, doesn't it? Like, because whenever they're offering like some new premium, blah 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 blah, 27 hertz, blah, blah, blah. It's never available in certain zip codes. They probably send it over to North Providence, but there were a lot of things that I couldn't get that they were offering, like some, in home features, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't get them. So I ended up getting Verizon, a phone, cable, internet bundle, what
Mm-hmm.
have you. And then we had one, two. We had 3 boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so you're paying for your boxes, you're paying for your fees, you're paying for all blah, 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 blah. Then I was like, my sons are not watching cable.
Mm-hmm.
They're in their 20s. What were they doing? They were streaming.
Mm-hmm.
They're not watching literally anything. Like they watch YouTube on a loop, maybe a little bit of Netflix. Um, and the rest of it is just they're on their social media. So I was like, nope, come get your boxes. I canceled that and I got a what do you call it? A satellite, like a
Okay.
so that was how we first started. I got the satellite, and so we were able to get like the main channels, and then we had the internet. So the TVs, all the TVs are smart, so
Mm-hmm.
we could just get like the base, our subscription stuff. But then sports season kicked off, and my husband was losing his mind.
Oh yeah.
If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even have probably the Hulu Live. So we ended up with Hulu Live. Before that we had something else. I forgot even the name of the thing that we had. It's like an orange colored symbol, but we had that, but they didn't
Oh,
have this.
Sling? Did you have Sling?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
Sling. And then when I was trying to follow Still Dope podcast and watch Married at First Sight, if I wanted to watch Married at First Sight on my laptop, it would turn off the TV while he was watching sports. Only one person could be on with the, I guess, the package that we had.
Oh, with Sling?
Yes, and he
Oh,
would be like, "What the?" He would be going off, and I'm like, "I'm watching Married at First Sight." He's like,
good.
Absolutely not. I need to watch this
Oh,
game." Yes, it was a nightmare. So left Sling and went to Hulu Live, and I've been loving Hulu Live, to be honest with you.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. I thought about Hulu Live, but the only thing that changes, like I would be paying a little bit more for the Hulu Live and internet than and plus I already have everything. I girl, I have Netflix, I have Amazon, I have HBO Max, BritBox, Acorn, Masterpiece, PBS Masterpiece, Peacock, Paramount Plus, Disney, and Hulu together. But it's not Hulu Live. So is that all the streamings that I had? Oh, I've had now
That's
my
a lot. I
yeah,
thought I had a lot.
the
But it to
I
me,
thought
it's the principle. It's the principle. And here's the kicker. In
hmm
like a year, you can probably sign on again for a new client deal and get all the discounts again if you wanted to go back that route. There's no respect for like loyalty. They're always trying to get a new customer
hmm
on board, but they never really give you like the loyalty love. Like, oh, you've been with us for 25 years. I'm gonna give you a break on the. Even my elderly mother, who is using an elderly discount, was paying like $200 for cable and internet. It's absurd. It is highway robbery. She has no channels, by the way, like no good channels, no premium upgrades.
but that was is that Xfinity?
Xfinity.
Xfinity, and to me in the city, they just rip people off because it is insane that if you live within the city limits of Boston, you paying this outrageous amount, and then you go outside the city to the suburbs, and they're paying almost $100 less than you.
Mm-hmm.
Make that
Yep.
make sense.
There's
It's
always a premium on
the poor
the poor.
suffers the most all the time. That makes no sense. So
But
I.
she's another one. So it's for my mom, it's baseball. She has to have her baseball. For
Mhm.
my husband, he has to have basketball and football. If it wasn't for him, trust me when I tell you, I would have the basic Hulu and maybe like a Max or something like that. And I have Prime, but I have a couple like little deals. Either you can get them through like your cell phone company or you can get them through whatever. They're like deals that you can get in bundles. But I could care less. Like you just tell me what the score was. I love my Celtics, I love my Patriots, but I do not have to watch the game live.
I just thought that damn that might hurt me come forth.
They're gonna get you. I'm trying to tell
I
you,
like
but
I like football and I like basketball too. Yeah,
but
I don't know how I'm gonna do this.
Black Friday, that's the best time to get a deal on a streaming service now.
And I just need it for like, oh damn. I mean, so
So
okay,
it's
Well, football comes on CBS and NBC
but
on
not
Sunday.
all of the games.
Right. So I don't need to see every single game. There's,
But
like,
they make sure that those crucial games that you want to see are on those streaming ones. And you either need a cable subscription to log in to
Mhm.
watch, or even if you're subscribed to like the sport, like the NFL.com or MLB.com, you still need someone to port it through. They're very tricky.
Yeah.
Trust me on this one.
So I
They
feel
get you with the
like
sports.
it wouldn't bother me too much because when I had cable, I was only watching on Sunday for football, whatever was on CBS and whatever was on NBC, and I think Fox had a couple of games. So I was watching those channels, Fox, CBS, and NBC for football. And come the then TNT, is it TNT for basketball on like Tuesday
Sometimes, yeah.
or whatever? That was enough. That was fine for me because I knew I wasn't going to get basketball any other channel unless I did like NBA Live or whatever. And I wasn't doing that. So I really was only watching, it when it comes on TNT or TBS, one of the two. So that is going to bother me, but I'm not going to pay like $40, $50 more just to have like those two channels because I can probably figure out how to get ABC, NBC, and CBS.
Yeah, you can get that like I said, that satellite. I bought it at Walmart for like $30. It fits right on top of your smart TV, and you can get in like the main local signals. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So and I will be fine with that. And I do like there's a lot of primetime shows that I like, but like for NBC and I think NBC and ABC, they're streaming next day, and Fox too, FX, they're streaming next day on Hulu. So I'm fine with being a day
Yeah.
late because it's just so much. And as far as news, I get news updates on my phone all day. Washington Post, Providence Journal, Channel 12 News. I don't mess with Channel 10 News, and I think everybody should just boycott them altogether because who they're owned by and what the propaganda that they try and push. So fuck Channel 10. Well, I'll tell you about that another day. But let's move on because we went into the TV thing, which is big for me. But there's a vigil tonight for Sonia Massey, and I don't know if many of you've probably heard the story. You might have even seen the video. Unfortunately, I tried to watch the video, and I did the first maybe 2 to 3 minutes when the police came to her door and they were talking to her, and the energy that was coming from this police officer said, you know what? For my peace of mind, because I was already just feeling that tingly, heartbroken, like stress that leads to
Yeah.
anger. I was feeling that already with just the way he spoke to her. But if you are not familiar with this story, this happened a couple of weeks ago, and we had mentioned it not too long ago on another episode, and I didn't know her name then,
I remember.
talking about police reform. But anyway, this police officer in Illinois, him and his partner went to this woman's house, Sonia Massey, who had called the police because she thought there was an intruder, circling her property. They came, answered the call. She called the police. They came, answered the call, and from the moment she opened the door and was speaking to them, they were so disrespectful. And then they told her to go get her identification. And so she goes in, which makes no sense. She goes into the house. She's in her bathrobe, everything. She goes into her house looking for her identification, and they follow her in. And in the process of following her in, she goes to her stove to take a pot off of the pilot, and he's like, "Don't you throw that water at us, that boiling water at us." She puts it down. She says, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Cowers in a corner, and he shoots her in the face.
That it's
The
just
level
unspeakable.
savagery that I believe from the very beginning, if he didn't shoot her, he was going to do bodily harm to her because from the time he was at the door, there was just hatefulness just exuding from him. He had no respect for her. He looked at her like she was an animal and shot her in the face. They have since arrested him. They held on to that video for a very long time. And think about it. His cam was off. It was his partner's cam
Mm,
that was running. He
so
turned his
despicable. So despicable. Why they shouldn't be able to turn those cameras off? Why are you turning the camera off?
exactly. It should be on automatically as soon as you sign in and you have no control over it.
And I bet you they're roasting his partner down at the police station. They're probably giving that person a hard time or what have you, because that's kind of how these things work, unfortunately. You know what I mean? I'm grateful that we have the story, but I'm like, this woman was trying to get police help in her own house. This is the thing that is so infuriating. It's the Breonna Taylors, it's the Sandra Blands of the world. It's like we're just trying to scrape and survive. We're just trying to live. And if we're trying to get police protection, why can't you just, if you don't want to help, just leave? Not that you should leave a citizen who needs your help, but why must you shoot this woman?
In the
Like, you
face.
thought she was gonna scald you with boiling hot water
So
based
many
on
things
what?
she could have done. And even if she had the water and was going to throw it at you, all you needed to do was step back. Deadly force does not equal a pot of hot water. Those two
Right,
two things are two totally different. You're going to survive that hot water. She's dead.
right.
She's dead.
I'm
It's
so glad they arrested him. Not, I mean, that's not going to bring
it
her
took a
back. This is a
while.
this is somebody's daughter, somebody's
Mother,
mother. Like,
wife. It's
despicable.
like it's and so, in saying that, one of the things that we need to think about when we make elections, Donald Trump wants police officers to have complete immunity. How am I saying it?
Immunity.
Immunity. Why am I anyway? He wants them to have, because I'm thinking federal immunity. He wants them to have that. And you know why he wants them to have that? Because if you think about marching, if Donald Trump wins an election and he tells those police officers to go out there and shoot those marchers, it's going to be you. He wants police officers to be rough. He says it all the time. Don't pat their head down and to get into the car. Just shove their head and hit them upside the head. Put them in the car. He wants them to do that to black and brown people. You see what his reaction was to police officers when it was January 6th and those people were beating the hell out of the police officers. There was no compassion there. But
Mm.
when they're attacking black and brown people, complete immunity? Are you kidding me? The no job, no job should have complete immunity over anything. None.
Absolutely, especially when you are responsible for other people, you should be scrutinized like more than any other position. Police, officials, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the masses. We should be definitely analyzing your every move.
And this man has served in 6 different police stations in the last, I
Yeah,
want to
probably
say
because this is the crap that he does.
exactly, and has 2 DUIs. So there's there are issues there, and I'm 100% sure that every person that he's worked at has seen some type of bad behavior from him. So please stop telling me about these good apples, because where are they? Because
Yeah.
it seems like there's more bad apples than there are these good apples, that because they don't turn them in. And even some of the black ones, these black police officers see what these white police officers do, and some of these black police officers are just as bad as these white police officers. They don't turn each other in.
Do you know how many times like I've seen like friends of my husband, police officers, on their soapbox about how they're going to vote for Trump? Black men.
Mm, mm.
Because that's the mindset of a lot of police departments.
And it's crazy to me. And we talked about this last week. You really have to think that the mentality of the police officers is just not pure. For the simple fact is, they don't believe in gun reform, which is insane to me because your job is out there in the streets up against these guns that you don't even have while you're working. But
So
yet,
have you ever watched The Mayor of Kingstown? Have you ever seen that
I
show?
haven't watched it yet, but I heard it's
Bomb.
really good.
Bomb, first of all. Shout outs
Mhm.
to Bunny. Um
Bunny.
who's a character in that show. But one of the things that it kind of pinpoints, and I know it's fictionalized, is
Mhm.
that a lot of the crime that happens is allowed. There's a certain amount of crime that's allowed to
Mhm.
maintain order
I agree.
inside and outside of prison.
Mhm. No, I can see that. I mean, I think we've seen that just played out in history. And if you read any type of history, I think that's valid. I
But
would
there's a lot of bullying that happens within the police department,
I
and
believe that too.
I'm going off of, just things that I've seen, and some of things I've seen on television,
Mhm.
but I also can understand that, especially when you're in a male dominated environment, you're
Mhm.
going to go with the flow because bucking the status quo is never good when
Mhm.
you're in a hyper testosterone fueled environment, which is what the police department is. And
Mhm.
I've worked in male dominated industries, not the police department, but I sold cars, for example. I know what it's like to be the only woman, the only Black one at a company, at an organization, and I see how things go. And I've even seen like people pretend to be allies who were not allies. I'll never forget, it was the Obama election.
Mhm.
There was a manager at one of my positions. I mean, when I tell you, I thought this man was like really great and, really supportive of me, my career, the whole nine, like super supportive. As soon as Obama won that election, he came to my desk and was like, "Congratulations." I'm like, "Congratulations for what?" He's like, "Oh, Obama won the election." I was like, "Okay, yeah. All right." I was happy, but I wasn't trying, like, "Sir, the way you're trying to celebrate with me is
Mhm.
not giving." And after that, when I tell you the little things that he would do to undermine me in the job for no reason, and it was a direct result of that election. So there's so many wolves and sheep's I can't even talk. Wolves in sheep's clothing out there. It's like you said, it's like some people will say something to your face, you don't know what's going to happen, on the other side of that. You have to be hyper vigilant about a lot of stuff. So I say all of that to say that what we think the police department is not what it actually is behind closed doors.
Well, I mean, is it? Because what I think the police officers are, they show me every day with stuff like this. I mean, and I get what you're saying about, that level of bullying behind that, but we get that. I see that. I'm not that person that you show me who you are and I'm going to keep saying, "Oh, well, no, maybe not," and blah blah. No, you've showed me. You've
Yeah.
showed me who you are as a force, as a job profession, and I don't see anything pleasant. I know we need cops. I don't know what we can do to make sure that these cops are not racist. I don't know what we can do to make sure that they're not violent, but we need to do something. And all these like top heads and, chiefs and everything coming out and saying how horrified they are when they see something like this. Sir, it's your job to know before this person is on the street. It's your job to know that that person is violent and does not know how to do his job because a
Hmm.
lot of them do not know how to do their job.
Someone like that shouldn't even be trusted with a firearm. Like,
And
seriously.
but the America that we live in now, a man could be arrested for domestic violence. The Democrats are saying he should not have a gun. The Republicans are saying that has nothing to do with it. Him beating the hell out of his wife and showing that he's abusive by nature and has abused his not only his wife but his children and other people, but he can have a gun.
A gun that could blow a hole through a wall.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to unpack, and so there is a visual for her tonight at the State House at 7:30. I plan to be there.
That's Rhode Island that we're talking
Yes,
about.
Rhode Island, yes,
Um,
because Boston is having one as well, and I think
Boston is
theirs is
having
at
one.
6:30.
Yes.
6:30.
Yeah. And that's going to be at the Embrace statue in downtown Boston.
Oh, it's going to be downtown. Okay, so I think across the nation, there's going to be quite a few vigils for her tonight, and I do want to participate in that. And it's unfortunate that here we are yet again.
And it's escalating. It's
Mm-hmm.
escalating. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So they're running out of excuses now. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Trayvon Martin, it was like, oh, he had a hoodie. We were in fear, blah, blah, blah. He was outside with the hoodie on. Ahmaud Arbery jogging. He was outside, or we thought he was casing the joint. This woman was in her house and called for help. Why are you shooting her?
And then the one who shot Tamir Rice, who was 12 years old, outside at a park by himself with a toy gun,
Mm-hmm.
because again, no training, with a toy gun, was shot, and that police officer was able to go to three different police stations and work. And I think he just got fired, like last week. I was reading something about it where he just got fired for some behavior. I can't really say exactly, but the fact that I was reading about him still working in law enforcement after he shot a 12-year-old child for no damn reason other than playing outside by himself shows us that America, when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to guns, when it comes to these police officers, we are not doing our best work. And again, we come back to the fact that our children go to school every single day and have to worry about somebody coming in there and shooting them up. And now you want to give the teachers guns. You don't want to do anything about guns. You want to give the teachers guns, and it's absolutely despicable.
But mind you, if you want to be a social worker, you have to take like all these tests every single year to prove that you are qualified to be a social worker. If you want to be a lawyer, you can get disbarred for the first time you break the law, you can get disbarred. If you want to, there's so many like licenses and rules and regulations for other occupations. We give the police way too many passes. Like something that extreme is like, that's a no-brainer. You should not be working in law enforcement, period, after you have shot a child.
A
That
child. Hmm.
just gone. You're done. Because psychologically, how can you even be mentally right? Whether you're remorseful or not, something's wrong up here now after you've done that. There's no way that can't haunt you every single day of your life.
And I
Like,
wonder if it does, because these are the same people I go back to, and I'm sorry, I'm bringing up your history. You had picnics, fairs, while black men hung from trees with
you
your
got a point.
with
And
your
they were not traumatized. That
exactly.
was entertainment for
A
them.
level of soullessness that is absolutely missing. And we are seeing it in these police officers, a level of soullessness, and they will claim to be good Christian people and yet treat other people like garbage, like we're the savages, like we're not human. And you can go to sleep at night because you don't have any black people in your neighborhood, or you took down that woman in her kitchen. Yeah, I don't feel that they have that type of remorse when they do these things. I feel like, you know what? It's par for the course. It is in their blood, in their veins, in their soullessness. Disgusted.
Like, just go do something else. Like, mm-mm.
But we will have to be dealing with their evilness somewhere else too, because it's
True.
our blackness that offends you, even if we don't do anything. And when we step away from you, when we step away from, okay, you don't want us in your neighborhoods or whatever, we're going to create this for ourselves. You can't take it. You can't take it. Nope. You got to be in all of our
Tulsa.
situations. It's just horrible. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even gonna. Woo, Tracy. Woo, Tracy.
But do you want to talk about your friend Nikki Haley?
Well, she's not my friend, but you can talk about her.
So let's just say she's she tried, but she's also consistent. So I say all of this to say, so Nikki Haley, former presidential, can't would you call her a candidate? I guess
Right.
a candidate.
Mhm.
So she came out and spoke out against the way some Republicans were pigeonholing Kamala Harris as a DEI hire. I'm like, that's not how this works. You don't get to be a DEI hire for the office of vice president. But let's just say that we're talking about it for
Mhm.
her other prior roles or whatever. First of all, this
Mhm.
woman's college educated. She's a member of the AKA, which means that she is definitely like, she's been screened by her peers in
Mhm.
her education side of things, and she's definitely qualified. Okay, so let's stop with the DEI hire. If she
Mhm.
was a DEI pick, it was because they were overlooking her to begin with when
Mhm.
she was qualified. But so Nikki Haley spoke out against that. She told her Republican party partners who were saying those things that, that kind of rhetoric and that kind of behavior was not helping their look as a Republican Party. But then
Oh God.
homegirl turned around and also bashed the voters who, I'm going to get the exact information right here because I don't want to get it wrong.
Oh,
But
is it her pack? Her
it
pack?
was her pack. It
Yeah.
was the Haley voters for Harris. Girl, she
Uh-huh.
she did not like that. She was like, "Please get my name out your MFing mouth." She was like,
If
"No."
you had a backbone, then your pack probably would not have done it. But you have shown that again and again, you will rise up and say what Donald Trump is doing is wrong, and he needs to be more of an American instead of this selfish being that he is. But at every chance, you have been given that. And what you do, you come back and you grovel. You grovel and you kiss his shoes again and again. So
Yeah.
she could never be president. She could never be president because she would never win over enough women to do it, and or enough Republican men to do it. Because first of all, you got to be in your place. You got to be in your place, and that's why she was never going to be the nominee anyway. When you talk about racism, she's an Indian woman. I don't care how she tries to change her name. I don't care if she's using a skin whitener. She doesn't. But I'm not. Whatever she does to say that she's with this white group, unless she's led by a white man, they are not going to follow you. They are not going
Hmm.
to follow you and your woman because they want you back in the kitchen with the babies, and that's it. So yeah, Nikki Haley, she's full of crap. So whew, that was a
That
time.
was
We had a
emotionally
time.
taxing. I just want to say that I want to put that asterisk out there. Like having these conversations, me and Shahida don't like this. This is very tiring. It's quite exhausting. Like we just want to live our lives. We just want to get up in the morning, enjoy our families, you know, go on vacation, go to work, do the normal things. We don't want to have to think about the fact that you could be minding your own business in your own home and you're not safe enough just on your own property by yourself. We don't want to have to think about,
Yeah.
wow, like we don't want to have to think about what will happen if the country turns into Handmaid's Tale for the next 4 years. We don't want to think about this. I'm tired of it, to be quite honest. But if we don't talk about it, that's when things don't get done. So we have to become uncomfortable to be able to enjoy comfort in the future. So
And before we sign off, I can't even think of her name. I do want to shout out to the women that did that call last week. I think it was like Angela or I was part of it, but the woman who has this call, and she's always had this call every single week. It was three of them, and Joy had them on her show, and I can't remember their names now. But to start something like they did, because they've really kicked it off for Kamala. And again, I said it earlier, they sent out a bat signal, and
yes, and
I
that
don't
word got out. That word got out
want her
quick.
to be a black woman. for all that we just talked about and the stuff that we have to go through and what is on our shoulders all the time, and the fact that we are like 10th, 100 generations in this country and we're still fighting these same fights, I would not change being a Black woman for anything in the world.
Absolutely not.
And shout out to those women who, after that call, those white women, they did their thing, and they formulated the same type of call, and they raised an enormous amount of money. Black men came and they did their thing. Asian women came and did their thing, but a Black woman did it first. That's all I gotta
And
say.
you can do as little as like $10. I mean, you can do the
$3.
smallest
People
donation
ask for
that you want.
$3.
But I just set up reoccurring payment because I was like,
I
you know
did too.
what?
Mm-hmm.
Just take the money because
Mm-hmm.
listen, we're gonna ride this. And shout out to our AKAs. I know we're about to wrap, but when I tell you the AKAs and the rest of the Divine Nine, I'm not in a sorority, but I totally respect the sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
They are riding so hard
Mm-hmm.
for Kamala Harris. So it's just, it's a beautiful thing to see. I love to see everyone getting together.
I love seeing the hope. I love seeing the passion that, we're all having. And then it's not just us Black women, but across the board, you can feel the electricity for this woman. Like,
Yes.
I think, a big fan, respected Joe, did not like the way the Democrats did him in the end, but it had to be done because look where we are in just a week.
And start, can you know what? Keep that energy. Let's get rid of Mitch McConnell. Let's get rid of anyone else who's not there all there anymore. This is our country. This is our representation to the world. We cannot come across weak, and we cannot be in a position where we are weak. We just can't.
And I'm glad you say that. Stop being weak and thinking that other side is going to be better. They are not. They are not.
No.
You have to fight them on their level. We can still be better people, and we are, because we want certain freedoms and we want rights for everyone. They do not. They are telling you that they want to have some of us in chains.
And
Maybe
they have these people
literally.
hyped that they're going to be making more money. Um,
No.
how? Where?
Oh, and then before we sign off, I want to say I want you all to start looking into this inflation, because we need to stop calling it inflation and maybe start leaning more into price gouging. All of these corporations have made enormous amount of money since COVID, since 2020, sometimes 4, 5, 10 times more than what they have earned before. All of these CEOs have gotten great big bumps in their salaries. The people have not. So
Hmm.
we need to start thinking, who maybe it's not inflation, maybe it's actually price gouging. And that's what we need to start talking about that a little bit more. We let other people set the narrative for us. We need to start bringing it back and setting the narrative for ourselves. So on
Hmm.
that note, until
You know where to
next.
find us at
And we
Little
are
State Big
going,
Voices.
I'm sorry, we are going to have a special episode probably on Wednesday, all about Kamala. And so if you do have any questions that you want to ask, please hit us up. Tracy's about to give you, our socials again. But any questions that you might have for her or JD Vance, I will look it up for you.
Yes, we are going to do that research 100%. We'll figure out what he did besides write a book. But anyway, if you can find us on email littlestatebigvoices@gmail.com, on Instagram at littlestatebigvoices.com, and on Facebook and TikTok at Little State Big Voices. So please follow us. Don't come on our thing talking crazy. If you say anything crazy, I'm literally going to report you. So just understand that. I have no problem with it. I'll take your whole
Talking
shit
is
down.
strong. Don't play. So until the next time, peace out.
Peace.